I never thought I'd lose my daughter this soon. The voice of the grieving husband, giving a eulogy, quivered with sadness, prompting tears from those in attendance. And in the family section, the figure of a mother, choked with sobs as she mourned her young daughter who left this world so prematurely. Yet, as his official wife, I was secretly watching this scene from outside the funeral home, unseen by anyone. Confused by this strange situation, I remembered what my husband had told me. "You better not come to the funeral." To begin with, I had been told by my husband that it was not our daughter's funeral, but his niece's. "So, this was the reason for your mysterious behavior yesterday." I immediately felt the urge to rush to my husband and demand an explanation. However, contrary to that feeling, my feet wouldn't move an inch, and I just stood there, stunned. My name is Sophia, a 28-year-old housewife who works as an engineer from home. My dad runs an IT company, and after graduating from college, I joined his firm. That's where I met my husband, Jason. He was a senior in the department I was assigned to. As we worked together, we started dating and tied the knot 3 years ago. Since I have no siblings, my dad was overjoyed to have a successor. I felt happy that I could make my parents proud, and I was filled with gratitude towards my husband, Jason. So, respecting Jason's opinion that it's tough having a spouse at the same company, I decided to switch to remote work after our marriage and support him. Jason, aiming to someday take over my father's business, attended seminars in his personal time and tirelessly networked. And sure enough, his consistent efforts paid off, and he was promoted to an executive position. I took great pride in him and always believed that we were both heading in the same direction. But one day, I come to realize just how much I had been seeing things only from my perspective. That evening, as Jason and I were relaxing in the living room after dinner, his phone suddenly rang. Answering it, he was visibly shaken, to a point where anyone could see. "What do you mean?" "Erica." "Got it, I'll be right there." "Which hospital?" "What's wrong? Who's this Erica?" Jason looked startled, as if he'd forgotten I was even there. Then, after hesitating for a moment, he uttered words that took me by surprise. "Erica is my niece. It seems she had an accident and was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance." "Wait, niece, I thought you were an only child." "Yeah, I am, but the thing is," what Jason then revealed was truly shocking. "It turns out my husband has a half-sister, a child his stepdad had with another woman. She got married and had a child 2 years ago." I was floored, especially thinking about my stern-looking Phil. But given the current situation, I offered to go to the hospital with him, but my husband declined. My dad's still keeping his mistress and their child a secret from my mom. "That's why I'd appreciate if you pretended not to know about Samantha." With one revelation after another about my in-laws' secrets, my head was spinning. Jason left me alone and didn't come back home that night. Worried about my niece's condition, I tried calling his cell several times but couldn't get through. The next day, out of options, I called his office, and they told me he had taken a personal day off. On the flip side, when my coworkers asked, "Is everything okay?" I could only give vague answers. Overwhelmed with concern, I felt the urge to call my in-laws and check on things, but remembering my husband's request to stay silent, I couldn't. I spent the day feeling uneasy. Jason came home late in the evening, 2 days later. By the time he got to the hospital, my niece had already passed away. He looked completely devastated, mentioning that he had just come back from the wake. "That must have been so hard on you." "Yay, it's been hectic. Sorry I couldn't get in touch." They decided to hold the wake suddenly, so I borrowed a suit from my sister's husband. I noticed my husband wearing an unfamiliar black business suit. Apparently, he realized it wouldn't be appropriate for the funeral, so he went back to get his morning attire. "So, did your father-in-law attend the wake?" "Yeah, you wouldn't believe how devastated he was. It was tough seeing him like that. He's staying at my sister's place tonight. That's really tough for him." "Hey, should I help out at the funeral tomorrow?" Wanting to be of some assistance to my husband, I made the offer. However, contrary to my intentions, what came out of John's mouth was a harsh refusal. "No, you absolutely cannot come to the funeral," he said in a stern tone, glaring at me. Taken aback by his intensity, I silently stared back. "Oh, I'm sorry. But right now, Dad's just so shocked and exhausted. I want to give him some space." "No, I'm the one who should apologize. What should we do about work, then?" I told him that we're allowed bereavement leave on the day of the funeral, and the company gives a sympathy payment. However, he declined, asking me to keep it quiet from work since he'll be taking a personal day, and added there's no need to give a sympathy card or money. Really, even if it's family, don't you think it's expected to at least give a sympathy card? At that, he seemed perturbed by my words. "You're always nagging. Stay out of my family's business." With that, my husband aggressively opened the living room door and locked himself in our bedroom. The next day, he left for the funeral without even telling me the location, almost as if he was running away. Left alone, I began my usual work from home, but I couldn't concentrate, disturbed by Jason's behavior. Having been so harshly rejected by my husband, I was deeply hurt. I get that he's shocked about our niece bossing so suddenly, but he didn't need to be that harsh. Then my phone rang. The moment I saw the name displayed on the screen, my heart nearly stopped. To my surprise, the call was from my mother-in-law. Worried that my father-in-law's secret might have been exposed, I hesitantly answered the call. However, the voice I heard was a cheerful one from my mill, catching me off guard. "Michelle, thank you for the birthday present." I then recalled sending her a gift from a department store last week, having scheduled it for delivery. My husband's family lives quite far away, and both his parents are busy with work, so we usually only see them during Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's why I make it a point to send gifts on special occasions like Mother's Day and birthdays. I felt a sense of relief and chatted with my mill about recent events. Casually, I inquired, "Is your husband doing well too?" To my surprise, she responded with an unexpected remark. "Yes, he's the same as always. He wants to thank you, so I'll hand the phone to him." For a moment, I was taken aback, not quite grasping the meaning of her words. However, the next voice I heard was unmistakably my father-in-law's. With his usual calm demeanor, he expressed his gratitude for the gift and reassured me with kind words, saying, "If you ever need to talk, just let me know." I replied, "Please, if you ever need to discuss something, even something you can't tell Mill, don't hesitate." I accidentally blurted it out. I was taken aback by the implications of what I had just said. However, my father-in-law brushed it off with a light-hearted laugh. "Ha ha ha, that's reassuring. But you know, my wife has always had sharp instincts, so it's hard to keep secrets from her." I didn't sense any hidden agendas from his tone. After ending the call, I was engulfed in turmoil. Did Jason lie to me? Why on earth would he? The rising doubts and mistrust toward my husband were undeniable. I was nervously fidgeting with my smartphone when I noticed an app displayed on the screen. It was a GPS app that showed my husband's phone location. After he had lost his phone in the past, we decided to install this app on each other's phones as a precaution when he got a new one. I quickly opened the app to check his current location, and it pointed to a funeral home not too far away. Unable to stay calm, I hurriedly got into my car and drove there. Peeking inside the entrance of the funeral home, the sight that met my eyes was truly startling. I never imagined losing our daughter so soon. Unbelievably, the man giving the eulogy as the father of the young departed girl was unmistakably my husband. Stunned, my eyes darted to the family seating area where I almost gasped upon seeing a weeping woman. She was a temp worker at my father's company just before Jake and I got married. What on earth is going on here? I felt an overwhelming urge to confront Jake right then and there. But amidst the gathered crowd, I couldn't muster the courage and just stood there in shock. That night, as soon as Jake came home, he simply said, "I'm exhausted," and went straight to bed. Lost in my thoughts, I sat on the living room couch for hours on end. Out of the blue, I heard the notification sound from a smartphone and noticed my husband's phone, oddly left in the living room. Before I knew it, I had it in my hand. Knowing the passcode was Jake's birthday, I easily unlocked it. I opened Jake's messaging app and discovered his secret. The temp worker I'd seen at the funeral, named Emily, was indeed his mistress. Their relationship spanned 4 years, from right after she joined the company. Jake had been playing me and Emily for all this time. She had left my father's company 2 years ago upon completing her contract. And shockingly, she soon after gave birth to Jake's child. How could he deceive me for 4 years? All I thought about was supporting him. The shock was so immense that I couldn't stop my hands from trembling as I held the phone. But the messages Jake had sent her revealed even more painful truths. He hadn't married me out of love, but for my father's company. Jake planned to secure the CEO position and then find some excuse to divorce me. All I love are Emily and our daughter, Leela. I promise to make you both happy. Just wait for me. The moment I saw such a cringe-worthy message from my husband, any previous shock I felt had vanished. Knowing Jake's true feelings, I was consumed by a boiling rage. How dare he make a fool out of me like this? I won't let things go just as he plans. Right then, I firmly decided that I'd never forgive him. I promptly started preparations for my revenge on Jake the next day. Playing the caring wife as always, I discreetly investigated Jake's movements and gathered information about his mistress. It seems Emily, his mistress, hasn't been working since giving birth and, along with her late daughter, had been living with her parents in their family home. Jake seemed to have told Emily's parents that he wasn't actually married, portraying their relationship as a common-law marriage. Moreover, under the guise of a monthly out-of-state seminar he was attending, he actually spent time at Emily's family home. Then, a month after the funeral of our daughter, Jake said he was off to his usual seminar. I decided this would be my day of revenge. The day came, and after seeing Jake off, I used an old company directory to locate Emily's address and made my way there using GPS. Identifying her home by my husband's car parked outside, I rang the bell. Emily answered the door. When she saw me, her face was clearly shocked, and she hastily tried to shut the door. Not letting her shut me out, I firmly pulled the doorknob and said, "My husband's here, isn't he? I'll just come in." Jake was in the middle of a relaxed lunch with Emily's parents. Realizing I had barged in, he choked and spat out the soup he was sipping on. What are you doing here?" He looked utterly confused about what was happening. "Let's talk outside." Saying that, as he tried to approach and grab my arm, he froze, taking a sharp breath. Behind me stood my father and my husband's parents. "Sorry for the surprise visit with such a crowd, but everyone here has something they need to say to you. And I'll start." I handed my husband the divorce papers. Seeing this, Emily's parents frowned at him, asking, "What's the meaning of this?" "My husband always speaks highly of you." I greeted them with a composed expression. It seemed my husband had told them he was all alone in the world, struggling to pay off debts his father had left behind. Upon learning the truth, the parents of Emily, his affair partner, angrily grabbed him by the collar, exclaiming, "After all we've done for our daughter and even covering the funeral costs for our granddaughter, how could you?" "I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's something else I'd like to give you." I handed an envelope to my husband, who was now pale, cornered by Emily's father. With a puzzled look, he opened it, and his eyes widened in shock as he let out a high-pitched yelp. Inside the envelope was a bill for $30,000. My husband had been secretly embezzling company funds using clever schemes to support Emily and their daughter. With the help of the accountant at our company, I managed to uncover this. "I'd love to turn you into the police, but I'll look the other way if you pay back the money. You wouldn't want to cause any more trouble for your parents, would you?" "I'm sorry, I really messed up. I promise I'll pay it back. Please, I hope you can forgive me." Completely deflated and whispering for help, I sharply responded to my husband, Just so you know, I'll also be asking for compensation for the affair. Hold on a minute. Emily seduced me. I thought it was just a fling, but then she said she was pregnant. What? You're the one who kept pursuing her, not the other way around. Don't try to blame someone else. Even at this point, my husband tried to pin the blame on Emily, which sparked an ugly feud between the two. Then, the one who put his foot down and said enough is enough was my husband's father, because of rumors spread by Jacob. My father-in-law, who was falsely accused of having a mistress and a secret child, had lost all patience with my husband. My husband often lied to his parents, saying things like they treat me like a son-in-law and take away my salary, frequently asking them for money. My father-in-law finally disowned him, and my husband was left to face the consequences from everyone. Realizing no one was on his side, my husband broke down, crying shamelessly, and begged for forgiveness on the spot. Samantha, I'm sorry for lying, but I just couldn't tell you the truth because I didn't want to hurt you. Well, aren't you something? I already know you married me to take over my father's company. That was all because of that woman's influence, I told you. The only one I truly love is Samantha. Oh, how sweet. I think you and she are a perfect match. Both of you seem to have a knack for wanting what isn't yours. I said my goodbyes to my husband, who was crying like a child with no sense, and briskly walked towards the entrance with my father and in-laws. From inside the house, we could hear the yelling of his mistress and her parents. It seemed another showdown had begun. But none of us looked back as we drove away. Soon after, my divorce with my husband was finalized without a hitch. I demanded $30,000 in compensation from both my husband and his mistress. On top of that, he was fired from the company on grounds of misconduct. He was also required to repay all the money he embezzled and pay back loans from his own parents. His mistress was disowned by her parents and was asked to return all the money they had lent her. Together, their debt amounted to almost $100,000. Unable to manage, they eventually turned to some shady lenders. Both of them are now working odd jobs and night shifts, struggling to pay off their massive debt. On the other hand, I decided to take over my father's business and transition from working at home back to the office, feeling the refreshing stimulation of the outside air after such a long time. I've been working closely with my father and colleagues, enjoying fulfilling days at work.